Forget them. Forget the noise. Forget the outdated scorecards.
Your financial life isn't a race against someone else's benchmark. It's about building security step by step. If you've ever felt anxious, lost, or too far behind, this video is for you. Stay with us, because by the end, you will see exactly how to shift from stress to strategy.
Sub, bell, like, and don't stop now. Let's finish strong.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're here to cut through all that noise in financial media and figure out what really counts.
Yeah, there's just so much out there.
Exactly. And if you clicked on this, chances are you feel a bit like that person on Reddit who said, I feel very behind and don't want to watch finance content anymore because it makes me anxious.
Oh, that feeling. Yeah, that financial anxiety. It's really the defining thing in personal finance today, isn't it?
It seems like it.
We're just swimming in advice, these rigid benchmarks telling you, save 1x your salary by 30, 3x by 40. And if you're not there...
You feel like you've already failed. Like the game's over before it started.
Precisely. It creates this pervasive sense of failure.
So look, our mission today isn't to just nod along with that anxiety. It's actually to take apart those rigid and honestly often flawed financial scorecards that cause so much stress.
Right. We're going to blend some of the traditional advice, from places like Fidelity with what people are actually talking about, debating on places like Reddit, YouTube, and ask the big question. What if those metrics we're all judged by are just wrong, or at least not the whole picture? And more importantly, what can you actually do right now, no matter your age, to get on a better track?
Yeah, what are the practical steps? Let's unpack that. It's a really crucial shift in thinking.
All right, let's start with the scorecard itself. Those traditional milestones for retirement savings that the big financial institutions put out there.
The classic ones.
Aim for 1x your annual salary saved by age 30, then 3x by 40, 6x by 50, and the big one, 10x by 67.
Okay, so those numbers, they're fine as very broad.
Sub up, bell on, and vibe with me to the end.
Targets, but applying them directly to your life, that's where they often become super misleading.
Misleading how?
Well, this is where all that frustration you see online, it's completely justified.
Yeah.
The single biggest trap in looking at public data is focusing on the average net worth for your age group. Wait, hang on. Why is the average useless? Isn't it still helpful context?
Well, it sounds useful, but it's practically useless for comparison because the average gets massively skewed by the super rich. The outliers.
Okay. So a few billionaires pull the whole number way up.
Exactly. So you see this high average net worth and think, oh no, I'm way behind. But that number doesn't reflect reality for most people. If you want to know where the, let's say, normal person actually stands,
you need the median.
You need the median net worth. That's the number right in the middle. Half the people have more, half have less. That's the number that gives you a real sense of the middle ground. It's a much better starting point.
Okay, median, not average. Got it. But even the median needs context, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because one number for the whole U.S. that ignores huge differences.
Absolutely. Think about saving 1x your salary. That looks completely different if you're in a high cost of living area, an HCOL place like Seattle or New York City.
Compared to somewhere much cheaper, a low cost of living area, LCOL, maybe in the Midwest or South.
Right. Your cost of living can change the actual amount you need to save by, potentially 50% or even more. It's a massive difference.
So the takeaway here is pretty clear then. Yeah, the actionable insight is stop beating yourself up over the average number. It's basically imaginary for comparison. Start looking at your actual situation, your location, your income bracket, and the median data for people like you. That's step one to ditching the anxiety.
Subscribe now, tap the bell, and drop your thoughts in the comments.
Context is everything, because when you zoom out, you see different generations are fighting totally different financial battles right now.
Oh, completely different worlds.
Yeah.
Let's talk about those generational battlegrounds.
Where do we start? Gen Z and millennials.
Yeah, let's start there. You see this interesting mix of deep anxiety, but also high aspiration, and their core anxiety. It's not usually about lattes.
It's the big stuff.
Debt. It's systemic debt. Student loans are huge. We see data like 74% of Gen Z, 68% of millennials actively putting off major life decisions, buying a home, starting a family, specifically because of student loan burdens.
Wow, those numbers are high. And it makes sense then that they're turning to different kinds of solutions, sometimes pretty radical ones.
Totally. You see, the fintech apps are popular, sure, but also these micro trends. Things like loud budgeting, which is sort of being open about saving, or cash stuffing.
It's cash stuffing, using physical envelopes for different budget categories, right? Seems a bit old school.
It does, but it taps into this deep psychological need for control, for friction. When spending is just a tap on your phone, it's too easy. Using actual cash creates a physical barrier.
Does it actually work?
Behavioral analysis suggests it does. People often cut their discretionary spending, sometimes by like 30–40%, just by using cash. It forces mindfulness.
Interesting. And that same drive for control for a different path, that also fuels the FIRE movement, right? Financial independence, retire early.
Exactly. FIRE is largely a reaction, a way to regain control from a system many feel hasn't worked for them. Forget the 10x salary rule. They're aiming for, say, 25 times their annual expenses. They use the 4% withdrawal rule as their own benchmark.
Okay, so that's the younger group. What about Gen X, the sandwich generation?
Ugh, yeah. Gen X is feeling the squeeze big time. They're often at their peak earning years, which sounds great,
Right.
but they're caught in the middle. Double pressure. They're trying to fund their kids' college, dealing with 529 plans and rising tuition, and often supporting aging parents.
That sounds incredibly stressful. Juggling college savings and figuring out Medicare, Medicaid for parents. I can see why the data shows only about half, like 53%, of Gen X feel confident about their own retirement.
Yeah, the confidence is shaky, and a specific worry for them is asset protection, especially regarding their parents. How do you help parents qualify for something like Medicaid for long-term care without the family going broke?
Right. And that ties into the whole great wealth transfer idea, doesn't it?
It really does. There's this growing anxiety that the expected inheritance might not materialize. Baby boomers might need to use significant home equity, for example, to pay for their own long-term care. That disrupts the financial plans many Gen Xers were counting on.
Which brings us to the baby boomers themselves. Their focus shifts again.
Definitely. For boomers, it's largely about preservation and legacy, the core anxiety. Running out of money is one, but critically, it's the potentially huge cost of healthcare later in life, even with Medicare.
So their goal is more about protecting what they've built and managing how assets might transition eventually.
Exactly. Maintaining their standard of living and navigating those late life financial complexities.
Hit that subscribe, bell it up, and ride the full wave with me.
Okay, so we've got a broken scorecard and different generations facing unique pressures. What about the fundamental rules we're always told? Let's get into some financial dogma that sparks huge debates. First up, is aiming for no debt always the best goal?
Ah, the debt debate. Classic. The traditional dogma, you hear it from certain financial gurus all the time, is basically all debt is bad. Pay it off ASAP, even your low-interest mortgage.
Debt is the enemy, full stop.
Pretty much. It's framed almost morally.
Mm-hmm.
But the expert counterpoint, and this is where it gets nuanced, is about distinguishing between good debt and bad debt.
Okay, define those. Bad debt is easy, right? Credit cards. Yeah, bad debt is typically high-interest, non-deductible debt. Think credit cards, the average 30-year-old might be carrying, what, $6,000 at 20–25% interest? That's financially toxic.
Ouch. And good debt.
Good debt is usually lower interest, maybe tax deductible, and potentially used to acquire an appreciating asset. The classic example is a mortgage, especially one with a low fixed rate.
But what about the psychological win? Some people just hate having any debt, even a mortgage. Isn't the peace of mind worth potentially lower investment returns?
And that's the absolute core of the debate. It pits math against emotion. Mathematically, it often comes down to opportunity cost. Meaning, if you take extra cash and aggressively pay down a mortgage with a 3% interest rate, you're giving up the opportunity to invest that same cash in the stock market, which historically might return, say, 7–10% annually over the long term.
So you're potentially leaving money on the table by paying off cheap debt early.
Mathematically, yes. You're choosing a guaranteed 3% return by saving that interest over a potentially higher but not guaranteed market return. It really is a personal decision between optimization and peace of mind.
Plus, in the U.S. system, avoiding debt entirely can actually hurt you, right? You need a credit score.
That's a huge practical point. You absolutely need a decent credit score for so many things: renting an apartment, getting insurance, sometimes even getting a job. And building a score requires using debt responsibly. So zero debt isn't always the smartest move strategically.
Okay, let's shift to the second big debate. Is buying a home always the best investment? That's like cornerstone of the American dream dogma. Oh yeah, rent is throwing money away. Homeownership builds wealth. We hear it constantly.
But the online communities, Reddit, Finfluencers, they push back hard on that, don't they? They talk about all the hidden costs. They absolutely do, and they're right to highlight them. Property taxes, homeowners insurance, maintenance, which is always more than you budget for repairs, potential HOA fees. It adds up fast. And the big one, lack of liquidity. Yes, liquidity is key. Your home equity is wealth on paper, but it's not easily accessible. You can't just, sell your bathroom sink if you need $500 quickly.
Right, you can't tap small amounts easily. You either have to sell the whole house, which takes time and money, or take out a loan against it, like a HELOC, which has its own costs and risks.
Exactly. And especially now, with mortgage rates significantly higher than they were just a few years ago, hovering around, 7 or 8%?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
That dramatically increases the actual cost of owning. It makes that whole rent versus buy calculation way more complex and, frankly, much more debatable, particularly for Gen Z and millennials facing those huge down payments, too.
Okay, so the standard advice needs serious questioning. Scorecard's flawed, dogma's debatable. Let's talk to the people listening who feel genuinely, maybe even hopelessly behind. What's the path forward? Is there good news?
There is good news, and it starts with understanding the real reason most people struggle financially.
Which isn't lack of knowledge.
Surprisingly, no. The data we see from financial audits, behavioral studies, even just community discussions, it consistently shows that maybe 80% of financial failures aren't about not knowing what to do. It's about behavior and psychology.
It's the execution gap.
Exactly. It's like the gym membership problem. You should go, the benefits, but actually doing it consistently. That's the hard part. You should save, invest, pay down debt, but life gets in the way or old habits kick in.
So let's pinpoint some of those behavioral mistakes, maybe by decade, because they seem to change. What's the big one that trips people up in their 20s? Oh, hands down, procrastination. Specifically, delaying starting retirement savings, putting off contributing to a 401k, especially if there's an employer match you're leaving on the table. That feels like a small thing early on, maybe just a few $1,000s missed.
It feels small, but the impact of missing those early years of compounding growth is absolutely massive. Experts estimate that waiting just 5 or 6 years to start saving seriously can cost someone potentially $1 million, even $2 million, by the time they reach retirement. It's the biggest mistake because time is your greatest asset early on.
Wow. Okay, procrastination in the 20s. What about the 30s and 40s when income often starts to rise? What's the trap there?
Lifestyle creep. Classic. Your income goes up, maybe you get a raise or a better job.
And instead of saving or investing the difference, your spending rises right along with it.
Exactly. The slightly nicer car, the bigger house or apartment, more expensive vacations, often driven by keeping up with others, that FOMO you see amplified on social media. Instead of boosting your savings rate, your expenses just inflate to meet your new income.
And that eats into potential wealth building.
Significantly. Some studies suggest impulse spending and lifestyle creep, often fueled by social comparison, can reduce a person's potential savings rate by 15% or more.
Okay, and then later on, closer to retirement, say 50s and beyond. What's the common mistake then?
2 big ones often pop up. One is getting too conservative too early with investments. De-risking too much, maybe shifting heavily into bonds way too soon when you still need growth to outpace inflation.
Because you might live another 30 years in retirement.
Precisely. The other major one is severely underestimating healthcare costs in retirement. People see Medicare and think they're covered, but the out-of-pocket costs, long-term care, they can be staggering. Underestimating this is probably the biggest single factor leading to the risk of running out of money later in life, say post-age 75.
All right, so knowing the pitfalls is one thing. For those people listening now, maybe in their mid-30s to 50, who feel behind and want to catch up, what's the practical playbook? Give us the steps. Okay, the catch-up playbook, 3 core steps. Step 1, automate aggressively. This is key. Set up automatic transfers to your savings and investment accounts. But here's the crucial addition. Make it automatic so you don't have to think about it.
Yes, but also schedule an automatic increase each year or even every 6 months. It's just 1% or 2% more. It's small enough you probably won't feel it much in your paycheck.
But it adds up significantly over time without requiring willpower.
Exactly. You automate the increase itself. Set it and forget it. It's huge.
Okay, automate and auto increase. Step 2.
Focus on cash flow by tackling bad debt. You have to prioritize paying down high interest debt. Anything over, say, 5 or 6% interest, definitely credit cards, maybe high-interest personal loans or certain student loans.
Get rid of the expensive debt first.
Before you even think about aggressively investing beyond maybe your 401k match, that high-interest debt is like an anchor, actively dragging your wealth down every single month. Paying it off provides a guaranteed risk-free return equal to that high interest rate.
Makes sense. Kill the expensive debt. And step 3.
Mind the basics, the emergency fund. You need that cushion. The ideal target might be, 3-6 months of expenses, but that feels daunting. Start smaller, aim for $1,000, then maybe $5,000 or $10,000.
Just getting something to set aside.
Yes, because the data is shocking. Something like 40% of U.S. households can't easily cover an unexpected $400 expense. Just getting past that basic $400 or $1,000 threshold does something really important psychologically.
What's that?
It removes the cognitive load of constantly worrying about small financial shocks. When you have that basic buffer, your brain is freed up to actually think strategically about the long term, about investing in bigger goals. That small emergency fund is the foundation for mental freedom.
Automate, tackle bad debt, build a basic buffer. Okay, that feels manageable.
It's designed to be.
So this really brings us full circle, doesn't it? The main message is you're not screwed.
Not at all. Your financial journey, it really is a marathon. It's not some sprint against a flawed benchmark that was probably outdated the moment it was created.
Financial success isn't about hitting some arbitrary number by a certain age. It's built step by step with discipline and, crucially, self-awareness about your own behavior and context.
Absolutely. So if you take just one thing away from this deep dive today, make it an action. Pick one thing. Go automate a 1% savings increase right now. Or check the interest rate on your highest debt and make a plan to attack it.
Just one small win to build momentum.
That's how it starts.
And we definitely want to hear from you. What's the one financial myth, the piece of dogma that drives you crazy? What do you want us to debunk next? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, drop us a comment. We read them.
And hey, if you found this helpful, maybe share it with a friend who's also feeling that anxiety about their net worth. And, like, subscribe, do all the things.
Please do. And maybe one final thought to leave you cheering on.
Okay, hit us with it.
Considering everything we talked about, the rising cost of healthcare, the potential pressures on that great wealth transfer, how are you actively planning right now to protect the wealth you do accumulate from an unexpected health crisis hitting you or your family down the road?
Ooh, that's heavy. Protecting the downside.
It's a critical piece, especially for Gen X and boomers, but really for everyone building long-term security. Think about that long-term shield as you plan your next financial move.
Lots to think about. Thanks for breaking that down.
My pleasure. It's important stuff.